Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from, connecting with me from. I wanted to say hello to you. I'm Dr. Geneva. Welcome to all of you. We are here live. Welcome to the Dr. Geneva Speaks live show. We're here coming to you on some important topics, especially if you're a woman over 50, if you're in your midlife, 50s, 60s, 70s, which we believe is the most fantastic, awesome, extraordinary phase of life. Yes, we do. And so we talk all things midlife reinvention and transformation, and hope that you enjoy the conversation. And the lesson today that I want to teach about being really qualified, oftentimes overqualified, but yet you're undervalued. You're not seen as that leader, as that person who can do really great stuff. So that's the lesson for today. That's what I'm going to be talking about. And we'll get into that in just a moment. I'd like you to say good morning and hello. Feel free to drop your comments and to say good morning in the chat. So I see Galado and Gloria and Willie and Lonnie and Patricia. And we're streaming to TikTok as well as IG. Good morning, my IG community at Lay Dental Diva. How you doing? Good to see you. And good morning to my YouTube community, Facebook and LinkedIn. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. Y'all keeping cool? Well, wherever you might be, it might not be the temperature that we got over here in Detroit, because in Detroit, it'd be hot. We've had this heat wave. And you know how the heat comes and it's tough, but then when you get the humidity put in it, it could be whatever. Hey, Lillian and Nari, babe, how y'all doing? Is that Carla and Daria? How are you? Good morning. What a pleasure to see you on. I don't know how it is and where you are, but it be hot over here. And our past couple of live streams, we had some technical difficulties because of the heat and the thunderstorms and all of that. So, but we're gonna make it. It's gonna be great today. Hey, Dr. Trent, how are you? Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I know it's hot there, no surprise. Good morning to you, and again to Daria Young. How you doing? And then who else did I say? And Carla. Yes, yes, yes. My goodness, so great to see all of you. And sweet over there for on TikTok, and Nora and Michelle and Sunface and She Stone and Holly. Okay, great to see you. My conversation is all about midlife. What happens in midlife, how you can navigate midlife. Um, if you're looking for reinvention, transformation, how to do that. If you're not really sure what's happening in your 50s or your 60s, and how to deal with it, but you want some advice and inspiration and strategies, I'm your girl for that. And so that's what the conversation is about. And I'm hoping it brings you great value. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. For those of you who don't know me, on my TikTok family and over there on IG, as well as YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm Dr. Geneva. I've raised $120 million for business and community causes. I've created over 50 public and private transformational partnerships. I am now a businesswoman that I switched my career, being in a successful nonprofit career for almost 40 years, and then transitioned into a lifelong dream that I had as a businesswoman in my late 60s. Couple months after I made that transition into a career I never had before, my husband got sick, my parents got sick. I became a caregiver, another role I had never imagined before. And then I lost all of them around the same time. And today, as I made my way through all of that, I had to reinvent myself in the 60s and found out a lot of stuff. And it's so interesting because I had spent years in community and organizational transformation. So I became an expert in that, how to move from point A to point B, how you change neighborhoods from places that you don't want to live to thriving, vibrant places, how you create that change in your life, in your community, working with young people. That's the work I did for years and years and years. And now I've taken all of that I've learned, how I've learned to raise millions of dollars to address community needs, how I form partnerships, how you can help people be the best that they can be and come together and collaborate. I've taken all of that and wrapped it into conversation, advice, strategies on how you navigate midlife. If you're stuck, if you're uncertain, if you're not sure, but you know that you want to take your next steps, maybe you're not sure about what those steps are, but you want to have a vibrant, impactful life and leave a legacy. So that's what the conversation is all about. And a lot of times, many of us are in these careers where we're trying to figure it out. What's the next step? Perhaps we want to change our jobs. Perhaps we want to move up in the organization that we're in, but we're stuck and we're uncertain. And it gets different when you get in your 50s. So you turn 55 or 62 and you're trying to make some career changes. And folk be looking at you and, you kind of feel like they're looking through you, that you're invisible, that you're no longer relevant. Well, we're going to fix that. And one of the key things I want to do today is to focus on that perhaps you're feeling that you're really qualified, which probably you are, but you're not valued the way that you feel you should be. And so that's the conversation for today. Hello to you all joining us. Let's really get into the conversation, because the question is, have you ever done the work but feel you don't have the title? Yeah, I was running things long before I had the title to prove it. I remember being hired at the lowest entry point in my organization under a director who, frankly, wasn't really doing much. I was managing the work, running the meetings, solving the problems, but he had the title. I didn't. And that didn't happen just once. As I moved up, I kept finding myself doing the job before I was ever recognized for it. Sound familiar? Many high achieving women over 50 have led projects, managed teams, turned around departments, organized major initiatives, but never got the official recognition. You've been the one people turn to when things need to get done, but somehow your business card doesn't reflect half of what you actually do. You've been leading for decades, but somehow when it's time for promotions or recognition, suddenly you're invisible. They come to you when things are falling apart, but they don't see you as the leader. And here's why that matters, especially now. And I want to have this conversation, especially for my sisters out there in their 50s and 60s and even 70s. If you're thinking about a career transition, a pivot into a new industry, or stepping into something different or bigger, you need to know how to translate your experience into language that opens doors that people can understand. Because here's the truth: the world often looks at titles, but your resume may not show the full picture, because your real qualification, listen to me, your real qualifications is your lived leadership, your lived experiences. Today, I'm going to show you how to name it, claim it, and communicate it with the confidence it deserves. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me tell you something. The school janitor knew I was a leader before I did. I grew up in a small town on the Jersey Shore girl. The entire neighborhood was on my case, watching me, expecting great things from me. Whether it was the woman who owned the corner store or the deacon in the church, somebody was always reminding me of my potential. I grew up in this caring adult community. I had no title, just responsibility, just the expectation that I would show up and lead and be successful. That experience, looking back, taught me something really crucial. Leadership isn't about the label, it's about the results of what you do. And if you're sitting here thinking about what's next in your career, questioning whether you're qualified for that role you've been eyeing, or wondering how to position yourself for a completely new field, this conversation today is for you. Here's what I want you to understand. My midlife women, 50s, 55, 56, 58, 62, your experience has been creating real impact all along. The problem isn't that you haven't been leading. The problem is that you haven't been capturing and describing that leadership in a way that decision makers understand. So let's fix that right now, okay? So first thing I want you to do, and this is important, one of the biggest lessons I know is to really not focus on leadership as what you are called, what the title is, but rather what you do. Okay? So think about where and when you've actually led, not what your title said you should lead, but where you stepped up and created results. Maybe you coordinated the office move that everyone said was impossible. I don't want you to say about your experience that I helped with the move. Mm-mm. Here's how I want you to describe that leadership. And for those of you on the replay, and for those of you live who come back to watch this again, you can pause at these points and copy down some of this language so that you get an understanding. Again, conceptually, I want you to get the flow of what you want to say. So you who coordinate the office move and you say, I helped with the move. Here's what I want you to say. I managed a complex office move for X number of employees. Let's say you're going to count them. Let's say it was 50 of them. And managed a complex office move for 200 employees. I coordinated 5 different vendors, kept everything on schedule, and delivered the project on time and under budget with zero disruption to daily operations. You see the difference between saying that and saying, I helped with the office move? Same experience, okay. But now you're emphasizing and talking about project management, vendor coordination, budget management, and team leadership. And these are skills that work in any industry. And in fact, it's the truth of what you've done. Or here's another thing. Maybe you stepped up when your manager left and you kept things, the people, everybody, the programs running smoothly. Don't minimize that by saying, I helped out when my boss was gone. Okay. I don't want you to say that. Here's the leadership language I want you to use. I took on an interim leadership for a team of whatever the number is. Let's say it's 12 during a critical transition. The boss left. So it was critical, right? Maintained all productivity levels, managed client relationships, and mentored junior staff while we recruited the permanent replacement. You see the difference between, I did some things while the boss was gone. No, what you're doing now is talking about things that are real. Interim leadership, that's what you did. Team management, client relations, mentoring, and even succession planning. Listen here. Every situation where you've solved a problem, managed people, or delivered results is a leadership experience, even in the home with your family. For us as women, the key is to learn to describe it in terms of outcomes, not just activities. Okay? So leave me a comment if you see yourself in any of these situations where you've perhaps haven't used a leadership language to describe what it is that you've done, because you've done great work. You probably are not only qualified, but overqualified, especially if you're in midlife, but you're undervalued. And part of the way to step out of that is to begin to describe, you yourself begin to describe what it is you do in more leadership language. Okay? So that's number one. Okay. So let me take a pause here to see what kind of comments we getting and who thinks, okay, and to say hello to folks. Yes, missing us for the promotions and those opportunities, etc. And that's why we need to make sure that we describe ourselves the way it should be. Audrey, how you doing? And Sprinkle Sweet and Marie, good to see you on TikTok. And Monique, Monique the agent, Monique the fabulous Monique, my daughter. How How you doing there? Good to see you. All right. So I want to get, and again, yes, you can put your questions that you have in the comments. And if there are any points that you don't understand, but again, watch the replay because you can slow down where I give the examples of the leadership language. You can do that. So, okay. All right. The second thing I want you to do, and it's very similar to number one, but we're going to talk about a couple different examples. I want you to use result language that shows impact. Okay. We first talked about leadership language. Now we're going to talk about result language. And this is where most of us get it wrong. We talk about what we did instead of what we achieved. But employers, especially in new industries, and especially if you're looking for that career change, and double especially if you're in midlife, okay, you need to understand that employers, especially in different industries, new industries, need to see the impact of your leadership. In other words, what was the result? Okay. So let's take an example, and you can see the difference, I'm sure. Instead of I was involved in raising money or involved in the fundraising committee, you would say, I developed and executed a fundraising strategy that engaged 200 community members in the process and exceeded our goal by 45%, generating an additional $12,000 for the organization. Okay. So what you're doing is you're describing the results, not what you did. Okay. What you made happen as a result of what you did. Okay. Again, you want to show the impact. I remember when I was going from United Way, and as you know, my United Way journey was starting at the bottom of the organization, working my way up to president and CEO. When I made the transition from that organization to another new national model that I was asked to develop, to create, to launch, had to start it from scratch. And I looked at my resume and I noticed in my much of it, of course, I spent 20 some years at United Way. Most of it was United Way stuff. And it was all the things that I did, which were impressive. I'm mad at it, but it didn't show the results, the impact. that twice as much money was raised for X number of organizations to serve X number of more people. For example, a new service was created that served more young people. A new organization was put together to get kids jobs, resulting in 1,000 young people getting a summer job, or whatever it was. On the resume was not that. So I completely rewrote that. And that's what we can do. We can do this. We can change what we've been doing. Okay. And that's what the conversation is about today. So we're talking results. And instead of I help train new employees, which many of you have done, you're going to talk about how you designed an onboarding program that probably reduced new hire training time by 30% and improved 6-month retention rates by 25%. The numbers that I'm using don't matter. But the point is that you talk about the numbers, the percentage, whatever the reality is. So you stop and you think and you calculate those numbers, those percentages, those, you just didn't increase something, you increased it by X percent, okay? Because what you're doing is you're putting in more of the uh, um, quantity, more of the things people can put their hands on and touch. Do you understand? Instead of saying, I organize company events, you're going to talk about how you managed end-to-end event planning for corporate functions. And then you'll talk about the number of attendees. Let's say 500 people came, and that you coordinated all of the logistics. You managed those vendor relationships. You consistently delivered experiences that strengthen client relationships, whatever it is. It's just not, I planned an event. Okay. So this is what the point I'm trying to get over. And I want you to notice what we're talking about here. We're taking everyday experiences and translating them into business language that any industry can understand. And this isn't about inflating your experience. This is about accurately representing the complexity and value of what you've actually accomplished. And this is a mind shift, sisters, I'm talking about here, because you got to first, you got to believe in the value you created in what you did, right? Okay. So we talking that mind shift here, and you actually taking the time to think about what you real deal accomplished. And once you do, let me tell you, you do that reflection, you sit back and you think about what you did. Yeah, I just didn't plan that event. Here are the things that happened and what I did and how I problem solved, and the relationships I had and what I had to do and all of that. And you actually, I know because I've gone through it many a times, sit back and said, wow, you bad. And that's all I'm talking about. And oftentimes when we get in midlife, we just take all the stuff that we've been doing, we just take it for granted. Okay. Now, the third thing I want you to do, and this leads right into what I've been talking about, and that is lead from your experience, and you want to make it relevant. Everything you've navigated in your career and life has created a wisdom that's incredibly valuable, but you have to connect that wisdom to the needs and expectations of where you want to go next. Do you understand? That's what we're talking about. Wisdom here, where I want to go, and making the connection. That's what we're talking about. And that's a very important thing for us in midlife to do. So if you've mentored colleagues through workplace changes, or you managed difficult personalities, or you helped resolve conflicts, that's not just being helpful. That's change management. Here's the language. That's emotional intelligence. That's team development skills. Okay? You with me? Are you following the concept I'm talking about here? How I want you to, really grab hold of that experience, that wisdom, and translate it. If you wanted to go into consulting or training, and this is one of the ones that I worked myself through. I really did. And what you want to say is that you have a proven track record. And sisters out there, if you're in your midlife, that's if you don't take nothing else away, I want you to put that in your vocabulary to say, I have a proven track record. Let it flow out of your mouth, okay? I have a proven track record because I know for sure if you 56, 52, 63, 65, 58, if you in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, I know that's for sure that you've got a proven track record. So I want you to, when you're looking for a career change, when you want to move up in your job, when you're looking for something different that you want to move to, I have a proven track record in. And then it might be, for me, it was proven track record in transformation and helping individuals and organizations through transition periods. I use active listening and strategic problem solving, skills I've developed over the years to identify core challenges and really develop sustainable solutions. So that's the kind of language I used, and I want you to use. The key is that you want to connect your experience to the language and needs of whatever target industry you want to go to, or whatever your next is. You want to make sure that you connect it. Now, look, I know by this time, perhaps you saying, okay, Dr. Geneva, we get it, we'll do it. But why is this so important for us here in midlife? Well, let me tell you, here's the thing. Whether, frankly, you in midlife, or I'm speaking to all women, okay? Because women look at job postings and see 10 requirements. And if we only meet 8, we don't apply. Men see the same 10 requirements, meet 5, and submit their application that day anyway. Okay? So we've been trained to think we need permission, that we don't value ourselves. We undervalue what we can do. And we want to wait until we're qualified enough. Okay? So I'm talking to all of y'all out there on this one, particularly though in midlife, because in midlife, as we go into all them changes happening to our bodies and our minds and all our relationships and everything, because we're going through it. We really are. We tend to question ourselves. It's kind of difficult to see everything we've come to. We think of ourselves perhaps as invisible, or other people look at us as invisible or irrelevant. So that tendency that we might have had for a while to think we're not qualified enough just intensifies if we don't deal with it. And we can deal with it. Okay? We can deal with it. And so I want you to understand what's really happening. You're overqualified, but undervalued. You have decades of experience, proven results, and this deep expertise, but you're not getting the recognition or opportunities you deserve. And sometimes you're not giving yourself the recognition you deserve. And why aren't you getting that? Because you've been minimizing your impact instead of communicating it powerfully, lifting it up. You've been describing what you did instead of showcasing what you achieved. And there's a huge difference. And so here's what I know after decades of watching brilliant women hold themselves back. You've been qualified all along. You just haven't been speaking the language that proves it. And that's why we're going to fix that. And that's what today's about. We're going to fix it. Because when you master this skill, everything changes. You stop looking at opportunities and asking, am I good enough? And you start asking, well, how can I show them what I bring? What method do I want to use? Because I know I can show it. It's just a matter of deciding what experience I put out there, because I have choices. I know it. I recognize it. I claim it. What am I going to do today? Talk about. Okay. Um, Everything changes. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission and start demonstrating what you already have, that you have what it takes right here, right now. When you can articulate your impact clearly, decision makers can see how your experience translates to their needs. When you speak in outcomes and results, you're talking their language, your what's next language. And this is especially crucial, important for those career transitions, because you're not just competing against people with the same exact background. Okay. You might be competing with someone younger too, if you're in midlife. And so you want to offer something different, the depth, the perspective, the proven problem solving abilities, and the wisdom that comes from actually having led through real challenges. So, right now, I want you to think of 3 situations where you stepped up, you solved a problem, you delivered results. Don't worry about whether they sound impressive enough. Just think of 3 times when people counted on you and you came through. And for each situation, ask yourself, what was the challenge or the problem? And what specific actions did you take? What was the result? What skills did you use that could transfer to other situations? And then I want you to practice describing each situation using results language. Numbers matter, timeframes matter, the scope of your responsibility matters, everything we've talked about. And remember, this isn't about bragging. This is about accurately representing your value. And you don't need the permission to show up like the leader you already are. And if you're over 50, again, you've probably led in more ways than you give yourself credit for. The challenge isn't gaining more experience. It's learning to communicate the experience you already have in a way that opens doors instead of keeping them closed. Your impact isn't up for debate. Titles can be earned, given, or taken away, but your leadership, your experience, that's yours to claim. You've been leading all along. Now it's time to own it boldly and clearly. Remember, again, you are not starting over. You're building forward. And every lesson you've lived, that's your leadership portfolio. And it's time to own it. And for any of you who want to own this time in midlife, I want you to get my free Reinvention After 50 strategic action plan. It's in the comments. There's a link, there's a QR code for all of it. And it really takes you step by step so you can think about and plan how to take your next steps in this midlife, when it could be kind of confusing, you could be stuck, or you just could be, I don't know what to do next. But with this guide, it's very simple. It's step by step, gives you some really great clarity and things to work through, and it's free. And I put in the exact same things that I used as I reinvented myself and claim it, name it, recognize it. So that's the lesson. Those are the things I wanted to teach today. Um, I see we've got a lot of comments, but also I know we're running out of time. So let me just take, how's everybody doing? Thank you so much. TikTok, IG, it's just been great to see you. Lady Mac, is that Lady Monica Anthony? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Woman Who Wins, BDC Johnson, Carlene, uh, Nathaniel, Monique, uh, Atlanta Dead Diva, all of those on IG and who have joined. It's so great. Renee, how you doing? And Pamela, Leon. Okay, so there's several questions here. I'm going to take one because I know our time is moving. Okay, so we've got this question. How do I reframe my story confidently without feeling like I'm bragging? Oh, that's a great question. Oh, thank you for asking that. And let me start off. I got to start off with the first thing. And that is, listen, many of us as young girls were socialized to believe that you do the work, you work hard, you put the effort, everything will be recognized. Just do the work. And at one time or another, that probably did work. That don't work now in these days. There's too much out there. There's too much going on in the world, lots of competition, so many people trying to break through. And then if you're in midlife, especially over 50, there's this invisible feeling that we get. And oftentimes it's real. People don't look at us as still relevant, that we're invisible. So take the B word out your language in terms of bragging. You're simply stating the facts, the things that matter. And you probably know people who do it, perhaps mostly men, who have this wonderful ability to articulate what it is that they've accomplished and the impact that they've had, the touchdown that they made, and it's okay. It's a beautiful thing. And you can do that. So the first thing about how to reframe your story is to shift your mindset. Okay. So you want to think about that your story is yours. It's unique. You want to feel good about it, own it, claim it. Okay. One. And then you be telling the truth anyway. So it's all right. Secondly, I want you to do some of the exercises we talked about today. Take some time, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even half a day, and think about the experiences you've had. Put qualifying words and terms on them. Be very specific about the things you accomplished and who you are. Think about your story. Third is to get a game plan, to figure out, okay, my mindset shift. I'm going to get out there. I understand that I'm not bragging. I'm really talking the truth. And I've identified the 5 or 6 or 7 things that are really strengths and skills of mine and that I can do and use to help people and to create even more impact. The third thing is, okay, how am I going to do it? What's the game plan? How do I become more strategic? And you know what we talk about when we say strategic, that means that you are in control of designing and creating what it is that you do. And my free download, Reinvention After 50, that strategic plan guide, that's the perfect thing for you to do to help you frame up your story and figure out what's next for you to do. So I hope that's helpful. Again, all of y'all need to get that. It's free. It's something that you can use. It's, we got a QR code. We got the link here. It's the Reinvention Action Plan for those of you over 50. In particular, though, I had the other day, I was doing a live, and one of the young people who joined said, I'm just getting in my 40s and I want that action plan. So you can, at any age, getting prepared, because you're going to reach midlife. We hope you want to reach midlife, right? So the point of all of this, and what I bring to you every week, and go over to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build up my YouTube channel. Go over there, watch the lessons, the conversations, the videos where I talk about midlife. And you want to get there, and you want it to be vibrant, don't you? Because it can be. You're at a crossroads when you hit your 50, half a century. It can either be the best ever stage of your life, or it could be what society tells you that you want to decline. So you have to choose. And when you go over to my YouTube channel, you'll see that there are lots of ways that you can choose to have a vibrant life in your 50s, 60s, 70s. And I know what I'm talking about, because, my life has been a reinvention. I've shared that. Now I'm in my mid 70s, living my absolute best life. And you can too. We're going to see you next week, every Wednesday, 9:00 Eastern Central Time. We're here. Dr. Geneva Speaks Live. Have a beautiful week.